Hello everybody, this is Frédéric Billet and you are listening to Inside Billet's Head, real people with real challenges, teaching us real lessons, and I am here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, sunny Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Today's subject is how Christianity helped me find my life's purpose with Marie-Eve Higgins. In this fascinating and intense conversation, Marie-Eve discusses the death of her mother, her transition from non-spiritual to Christian, her journey to finding her life's purpose, and more. Her answers will enlighten you and will help you answer your own questions. Guaranteed. It's definitely one of the better shows I've done. So without further ado, let's get started. You are listening to Inside BA's Head, real people with real challenges, teaching us real lessons, and this is this week's guest. How are you today, Marie?
I'm fine, and you?
I am fabulous. So let's get started. As I told my listeners, you're a thanatologist, you're a Christian, you're a humanitarian. And so give us a little bit, an overview of your background.
Okay, well, I'm an only child. I was principally raised by my mom, who was a loving single mother. She gave me everything she had. She was loving, and I was cherished unconditionally. And, I'll forever be thankful for that. I grew up in a Catholic family, like most people in Quebec. But, at that time, I didn't really understand who God was or what Jesus did for me. I would go to church one or twice every year just because, that's what we're supposed to do. But, I did it with no conviction at all whatsoever. My mom was a very sensible and spiritual person, but I, on the other end, was more of a scientific or cerebral person. The kind of person, who likes to rationalize everything and get proofs before believing anything. But in spite of that, there still was an emotional and intense side to my personality. When my mom passed away 8 years ago, I was 24 at that time. I needed to believe that there was something more. I searched for answers here and there, but in the wrong places. I would go to see, in astrology or mediums. I would like to, try to talk with my mother, things like that. Also at that time, I was working as a funeral counselor. I think that because of my studies in that field and in my career at that point, I was more equipped to deal with the passing of my mother. However, looking back, I think that when my mother died, I was more in a working mode than a grieving mode.
No, let me stop you. So you just told me that your mother died, right? What age, if it's not too personal, at what age did she die?
I was 24 years old.
And what's the psychological impact of on a 24-year-old girl like you, losing her mother?
Well, for me, it changed everything because, my mother was the person I lived with since I was a child. She raised me almost by herself. And, I was doing pretty much everything with my mother. So there's a big, void in my life.
And you mentioned that growing up, you were not a Christian. You were Catholic, but you were not a practicing Catholic.
No, absolutely not. Actually, I was a Catholic just because, I got baptized as a baby, but I didn't really believe in God or anything.
Okay.
So, I must say that it is when I became a Christian that God really helped me to have closure, regarding the passing of my mother. I still miss her obviously very much, but I'm at peace and I believe it's because of
Awesome.
God. Yeah.
So now you're 24 years old. Your mother passed away.
Yes. Yeah.
Where are you at in your life at that point?
Well, at that point, I was working as a funeral counselor in a funeral home, and I started to travel a lot. I had the chance to go to many countries, and that kind of was a fun part of my life. But at 29, I wasn't a Christian yet, but I decided to quit my job, the one I had for the last 10 years, to pursue a life of, like, I would say a life of passion and purpose. Cause at that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to be like my own boss, and I wanted to travel and help others. And, one thing I knew for sure is that I wasn't happy where I was anymore.
What was the major breakthrough that made you realize, you know what, funeral counselor thing, I'm going to do something else? What was the major breakthrough?
Yeah, but the funeral field really changed. And at one point, I wasn't happy there anymore. Well, I think I can answer your question. I got sick. I got very sick. I believe that your body tells you when something's going wrong in your soul and your spirit. That's what happened with me. I suffered from, multiple pulmonary embolism in both my lungs. And that was the cue for me. Like, there's something going on. I needed to make a move and take a step of faith in my life and change something.
For all our listeners out there, and I think your story relates to my story. It relates to a lot of people's story. This is I think it's today's generation main question. What is my life's purpose?
Yeah.
And I think what you just said is fascinating, because I think you represent that. A lot of us, including me, we got sick doing the job that we were, we studied in, or we often, I think growing up, my issue with education oftentimes is that growing up, we learn to live life from the outside and not from the inside.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're 29 years old. You decide to change careers. What's next? How did you do that?
Well, that was the beginning of a journey for me, because I tried many, many things, and it actually got clearer once I became a Christian. Mm-hmm. So, at that point, God really helped me to, because I believe God can speak to us and can guide us. At that point, things got a little bit clearer. But, it was a journey. I tried many things, and I'm not there yet, just so you know. It's not crystal clear yet, but I'm getting there. What was the
major spiritual awakening you had that made you become a Christian?
Well, a good friend of mine invited me to a Christian prophetic church one day. To tell you the truth, I had no clue what I was getting into at that point, but the way he would talk about God and about his faith, even while going through a very difficult time himself, I must say really got my attention.
You say the really way the person spoke about God. What was that way that made you?
Well, this person, I'm not gonna say his name.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
But this person was really going through a rough time, and I don't know. There was something about this person. He could still stay at peace. There was a peace and a joy about him, even though it was going a very difficult time. So, and I was not ashamed to say that, God was taking care of him, and everything was going to be okay. That, it was the way he was talking about God and his faith. This was unusual for me, because me and my friends, I did not grow up in a place where people would talk about God like that. So for me, it was different, and it got my attention. And this friend invited me to a church, a Christian prophetic church. And, I think my life really changed the day I realized that God wasn't a religion, but it was a person, a creator who loved me more than anything in the world.
I think what you just mentioned, that God, I think that's the issue with a lot of people with religion.
Yeah.
Because there's that dogmatic type of mindset that our parents and grandparents had. And I think that today's generation, we want to run as far away from that as we can. Right? Go on.
Yes. And I think this is very sad, because I think religion, or you could say the church, really hurt a lot of people. So people ran away from God. But the thing you need to know is that religion tells you that you need to follow a set of rules, but God it's the opposite. I mean, he's going to accept you the way you are. He knows we can't be perfect. Like he doesn't call us to be perfect. He really like loves us beyond and is willing to give us his grace if we just let him in, you know? So, when you really get to know God and you set apart from religion thinking, that's what changed my life.
How did you make that? How did you make that difference between religion and, as you just said, and God, living your spirituality as opposed to? Did you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I think I do actually, but I would answer you that it's true people, like real Christians. There is something about those people that the light of God comes through them, and it's difficult to like say in words, but it's something that you experience. And once you've like touched this a little bit, you get to have your own personal relationship with God. And you want to know more, you pray, you read the scriptures, and I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but I think through people I got to know God first. Through the church I went for the first time, and then I went a few times, and it's really true what people would tell me, and there's the glow about being a Christian. Like it's not that you won't go through rough times, but there's a peace and a joy because of God that lives within you.
So now you're invited to the church. Your friend is there, and you're amazed by him, and you know, did you get into it like right away, or was it a long process for you?
Oh, well, it was not a long process for me, and the reason is pretty simple. It's because I'm intense. If you would ask anybody who knows me a little bit, they would tell you I'm intense. So it was the same thing when I got to know God. I wanted to know more now, and so that's why it was fast for me. But you know, everybody goes with their own pace, you know. It can be slower for somebody else, but no, it was fast for me.
And how did Christianity help you through the toughest times? I mean, we all go through struggles, and I'm sure whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, we go through struggles, right? Tell us one struggle in particular that affected you and that Christianity helped you through.
Well, before I tell you something specific about my life or my experiences, I would like to tell you that, well, first of all, being a Christian is everything to me. Again, it's hard to explain in words, but it's really something you experience. It's a journey, that you have to experience for yourself. But one thing I can tell you is that God is really like my strength when I'm weak. And it could sound cliche, but that's really like, it's true. And the more you get to know him, the more you're equipped to face challenges. That's what I experienced. And you know, when you decide to put your life in God's hands, oftentimes people think that suddenly everything is perfect. And you know what? Often it's the opposite. Like all hell breaks loose. That's what happened for me actually. But I'd like to say that really there is nothing you can't face when God is by your side. That's what I would like to say. For me, in the last 2 years, I've had challenges in pretty much every areas of my life. But the one I wanted to talk to you about, I've had very many challenges regarding my financial life and my professional life. Cause, I've really had to stretch my faith in that area. Cause, at any point I could have gone back to my previous career where I had a pretty good income. But for me, it would have been a failure, really. I really had to push through, and God really stretched my faith in that area. And I had to really believe that he would provide for my need as promised in the scriptures. I really lived that day by day in the last 2 years. And he does actually. He does provide.
Okay, so basically, so you tell us, your story is basically the story of a lot of people today, you know, financial struggle, trying to find a new job and all that. Give us practical steps that you took that got you through this. I mean, did you pray every day? Did you go to, what did you do? Did you embark on a new career that, you know, was out of your comfort zone. I mean, how were you guided?
Oh my God. I've tried many things. I couldn't say like, and it's different for everybody. So I wouldn't be comfortable to like give you a step-by-step way to go, cause it's different for everybody, but definitely I've had to pray. I've had to get helped. Cause yeah, that's one thing. I'm the kind of person, it's hard for me to accept that people will help me. Most of the time in my life, I've been on the other side. So I've been helping people. So that's something that God really wanted me to learn, like to humble myself and to accept that I could receive help. That's one thing. But, I've had to try things.
All right. So this is Frédéric Billet, and you are listening to Empowering BA's Head, real people with real challenges, teaching us real lessons, and all our podcasts are archived on iTunes and frédéricbillet.com. And the reason we archive them is because repetition is how we learn. Today's subject is Christianity, and we are here with Marie-Eve Higgins. She's a thanatologist, a Christian, and a humanitarian living in Canada. I've known you for maybe a couple of years. I've worked with you. And as you said earlier, it's true that you are an intense person, and I actually think it's a quality.
I think too. I'm happy to be like that, actually.
Okay. So now, okay, you're okay. So you've given. Did you get rebaptized?
I did. Okay. But I just wanted to add something regarding my professional journey. When I was saying that I could have gone back anytime to my previous career, I just want to tell that, so I chose to continue to move forward, to believe that what God had spoke to my heart about what I was called to do, about my purpose in life. I chose to really not go back. And what I wanted to say also is that I think the most difficult part of my journey was to accept the uncertainty of my situation, and most of all to face people's judgment, because people they just didn't understand my choices. I've been misunderstood many times, and I've also been rejected, either because of my choices or because of my passionate love for Christ. But at the end of the day, I'm grateful for all the struggles, because God really did a work in me, really. And I'm kind of proud looking back, because many situations, the old me would have totally lost it. Really. So yeah, I'm proud, but don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of work to do in me. But I really wanted to say that God is real, He's alive, and He has the grace to take us where we are, and with our flaws. And you would be amazed how we can do what He can do in your life if you let Him in.
Tell us. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. First, tell me, you said that you had to go through uncertainty. A lot of us have to go through uncertainty.
Yes.
That's I think one of the major fear a lot of us have towards, taking new steps in our lives. How did you face it? How did you do it?
Day by day. That's really cliche, but it's the good answer to give you. Day by day. I mean, there were some days I didn't know where I would be living the next month, how I'd pay my rent. And really, I could have gone back anytime. It would have been easy to go back and have a good income. But my friend here could tell you it wasn't always easy. But day by day with God, because He says in His word, and that's really something I had to live by. Every day He gives you what you need, and that's really what I've experienced the last 2 years.
Awesome. And okay. And you mentioned that you were judged because you were a Christian.
Yes.
What type of prejudice people have against Christians?
Well, people, they've been hurt by religion, by church, and oftentimes they just don't know God. And I would be judged a lot because of my intensity. Because I'm radical. I love Christ. And even when I was going through rough times, I had to talk about God because He was my strength, But some people, they didn't really understand that. They would have liked for me to stop talking about God every time, but I just couldn't. And that's what helped me, actually.
Okay. Okay. So how did you overcome it? I mean, was it really a challenge for you, or was it really easy for you to kind of, Did you lose friends? How did you overcome this?
Well, I had to move away from some friends at one point, but I still love them very much. But sometimes you need to choose who's gonna be by your side, because if you look at the 5 closest friends you have, that's something I've heard somewhere, I don't know where, but I so much agree with that. If you look at the 5 closest friends you have, you can see where you're going in life, because that they influence you. So it's one thing to have someone who doesn't understand you and to talk with that person, but it's another thing to see that person every day. You have to choose the people who are around you every day.
Okay. Everybody knows that when to have a fulfilled spiritual life, you have to have,
yes,
in my opinion, a routine kind of. You have to do something. You have to have a spiritual practice. What is your spiritual practice?
Well, first of all, I pray every day, in the morning, at night, in my car, everywhere. You could see me on the street walking and talking by myself, when actually I talk to God. And I may seem crazy, but I don't care. So yeah, I pray every time. God is constantly in my thoughts, and He's always with me. For me, prayer, it's not just an emergency call, but it's a lifestyle. Often people think that
repeat that. Yeah. God is not an emergency.
Yeah, and I have to say, that's a quote. It's not from me, but I really love it. It says, prayer is not just an emergency call, but it's a lifestyle.
That's awesome.
So again, I just want to say that's not from me. I am quoting someone, I don't know who, but I think it's pretty clever. It's right on. Like, you need to talk to God every time. It's a person. You have a relationship with Him. So yeah, prayer is really important. And oftentimes people, they think that you need to have a special formula to pray or to say certain words or verses, but actually praying is only talking to God, in your own words. And I really believe that also He can talk back to us in many ways. Well, in my dreams, sometimes I'm going to open my Bible and I'm going to read a verse, and I can say that it's God talking to me. Sometimes it's going to be visions, or you have a thought. I don't know. The more you get to know Him, the more you get to know His voice. Okay. That's one thing. Prayer. I also read my Bible, because I believe it's the Word of God. And through reading my Bible, I get to know Him more. I get to learn. I get to be inspired. And I've seen so many people criticize the Bible without even having read one page of it. I've met so many believers who haven't once opened a Bible, and I think it's sad, because it's like the best book in the world. I really believe that, and I believe the Word of God doesn't speak to your brain, but to your heart. So oftentimes we fail when we try to understand the scriptures with our human mind. For me, reading the Bible is a spiritual thing. Every time I read the Bible, I pray the Holy Spirit that the Holy Spirit would reveal things to me through my reading. Awesome. So yeah, and I think it's very easy to judge when you don't understand, or when you take a passage of scriptures out of its context. It's easy to judge.
Okay, so we have listeners from all over the world, all 5 continents. We have Muslims, we have Hindus, we have,
And you know what? God loves them all.
Well, that was going to be my question, because I really admire your passion. I think you believe what you say, and I really believe that when you tell us, what it did for you, and how it, you were in financial struggle and all that, and it allowed you to overcome that. I really believe you. Mm-hmm. How do you reconcile, for other people out there who are not necessarily Christians, but who believe in a God? How do you reconcile, Christianity, the Bible, with other types of faiths?
Yeah, well, I kind of have only one word for you, and it's love, because God is love. So I believe that when you love people, you honor God. And I don't know everything about every religion, but I know one thing is that we all have the same God, and God is love. So we should all love one another and just try to understand each other. And at the end of the day, it's not my job to convict people. It's God's job. All I can do is tell the world what God did for me. And at this point, it's their choice. I mean, I know Muslims, I know Buddhists. And yeah, you know, I love them. I love to talk with people.
That's an amazing answer. I think it's a perfect answer you could have given. Love, period. End of story.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's the last thing I have to say about what I do, what I practice. And I think it's very important. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. So yeah, the last thing, of course, I go to church. You know, I think it's important, not because it's something I have to do, but because it's something I love to do. You know, I believe there is power in unity.
Okay, wait, repeat that. That's very important for people to hear. You're going because you want to, not because you have to. That's very important. That's I think is the difference, in my opinion, between the old way of thinking and the new way of thinking. That we talked earlier about the differences between, religion and spirituality, kind of. I think you nailed it. You know, before we used to go to church because we had to. It was almost like,
oh, you know, I have to say, I have no choice. I go to the kind of church that you'd like to go every day. Basically, that's the point. I think because God is there. God is very alive in that
what's
church.
What's the difference? What is the difference with this church and other churches?
Oh, well, I don't want to seem like I'm judging other churches, because there are many, many good churches. But I love my church because it's it's alive, and everybody's welcome. We like to say it's a church for people who don't go to church. And yeah, it's very welcoming. It's warm. We get to pray together. We get to worship together. It's very I don't know. You have to come and see for yourself. But my point was, because in the scriptures there's a verse that says, "As iron sharpens iron, one person sharpens another." And for me, that's what church is. Can you explain to us what that means? Yeah, exactly. That's what. Yeah, I was gonna explain to you. So basically, I think it's a good thing for believers to hang out with other believers. Because, in the world, so many people hate Jesus, hate God. So they want to bring you down sometimes, not because they're bad people, but just because they don't know God and they don't understand your beliefs. So I think it's important for believers to talk with other believers, to build each other in their faith, and to share experience of life, to share what God did in your life. So it's really refreshing. It brings joy. Yeah, so it's important for Christians to stay together, to share. It strengthens me to spend time with other Christians. Not that I don't love unbelievers. Quite the opposite, actually. I love when I bring an unbeliever to church, because I have that big trust in God that He's going to touch everybody. So every time I bring someone at church, I know at some point they're going to be touched either by the pastor's message or by the worship team. Yeah, that's so, it brings joy to me.
Great.
A lot.
Awesome. Once again, this is Frédéric Billet, and you are listening to An Hour in Billet's Head. Real people with real challenges, teaching us real lessons, and all our podcasts are archived on iTunes and fredericbaye.com. And the reason we archive them is because repetition is how we learn. Today's subject is Christianity, and we are here with Marie-Eve Higgins. She's a thanatologist, a Christian, and a humanitarian living in Canada. All right, Marie-Eve, you're sensitive to other people's suffering. And I mentioned in the title that you're a humanitarian.
Yes, I am indeed.
How does Christianity play a role in that?
Well, there's kind of two parts to answer that question. I think first of all, being a Christian, getting to know God actually helped me to get to know me better. And it kind of clarified everything I wanted to do in my life. It clarified my purpose through having a relationship
What is your
with God.
purpose? What is your purpose?
Yeah. Well, what I'd like to do is help people do humanitarian trips. That's one thing. I love to preach the gospel. Obviously, that's one thing I love to do. So I don't know yet exactly where God is going to take me, but I know it's going to involve those things.
How did you, for all of us out there who are just lost stuck in a job which we hate, how did you find your purpose? You say it is through God. Okay, great. Can you explain to us? I know it's hard. I know it is.
No, well, the first thing, when it happened, actually, I wasn't a Christian yet. When I found that I really wanted to travel and do humanitarian trips, I was actually still working at the funeral homes. It's when the earthquake occurred in 80. Yeah. So when that happened, I really felt like I had to go. I wanted to go help people. I wanted to go help people there. So that's when it started. But when I became a Christian, all that passion, all that, vision that I wanted to do, humanitarian trips, it just got clearer. Like it became a no-brainer that I wanted to do that. And, so I'm not exactly sure yet what I'm going to do, but I know that where God is taking me involves, traveling, do humanitarian work, and, maybe, preach too, because I really love to talk and I love to talk about God. So I think that, your purpose is definitely something that has to involve your passion, what you do good naturally, because, God gives us gifts and, he doesn't give us gifts just for ourselves. You need to give back. So I think that's the purpose in life. Use your gift for others. And, I think that when you do that, there's a joy that goes with it.
Awesome. And okay. So, what you just said is very, very important. I think, it's everything, finding your life's purpose. I think I listened to an interview recently with Steve Harvey, and he said there's two most important parts of his life. First was when he was born, and second, when he found out why he was born.
Yeah.
And for me, I understood when I've always kind of been a writer, but I think I never embraced it. It's as though I didn't accept who I was. I was trying to do other things, but I wasn't accepting who I was. And it was only when I accepted who I was that my life really started to change. And I really, 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 really started to feel fulfilled for the first time in my life. I felt I was home. Just like I feel I'm home doing this show. So, but anyway, yeah. So I totally hear you here.
Nice.
All right. So now, where are you working? Do you feel you're in alignment? Your job is in alignment with your life's purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a few projects. Some of them I can't talk about right now, but I work for a foundation that helps children around the world in Haiti and in Africa. So yeah, it's exactly what God put in my heart 2 years ago. So because of that, I'm pretty sure I'm in the right place. So that's what I do.
And okay, so with your life experience so far, what would be the number one lesson you would give to anyone who is going through the same thing you did?
Well, yeah, my advice would be, I think that, your purpose in life has to be more important to you than your need to be secured or comfortable. And, actually, oftentimes we're unsatisfied with our current situation, but we still stay in it just because the unknown seems too scary. So basically we settle for less and our unhappiness becomes comfort, that's what I think. So, but I think we're called to be bold and I think we're called to be happy. So we should always be willing to try new things, to learn and to take steps of faith. But of course, we will fail at some point and it's okay to fail, but I think it's important to always move forward and, learn from our mistakes. Cause, life has taught me that every experience we go through, good or bad, every detour has a purpose. Yeah, there's a passage of scriptures that says, I think it's Romans 8, verse 28, that says that God uses everything in our lives, that all things work together for our good. And I believe that with all my heart. I've experienced it actually. And I think we learn way more from our seasons of struggle than we do from our seasons of great breakthroughs and blessings. I've come to understand that when I trust him, God builds my character through rough times. And when you're really honest with yourself, you realize that most of the times you are the one putting yourself in bad situation by your own will. So yeah, I truly believe, and I even believe that sometimes God can't bring the great blessings into your life because you don't yet have the character to sustain it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I absolutely understand what you're saying.
Is let's say, for instance, you meet someone, you fall in love, but you're still broken inside and you have unresolved issues. So you might end up like destructing your relation because of that. So sometimes God has to work in you before he brings the great blessings in your life. Same thing for money. Let's say something is, someone is a drug addict. So, imagine that person wins $1 million. What do you think is going to happen?
He's going to lose it again.
Yeah, that's what I think. So sometimes I think God loves us too much to give us great blessings before our character can sustain it. That would be the main thing.
Hey, that's excellent. That's excellent. So this is Frédéric Billet and you are listening to an hour in BA's head, real people with real challenges, teaching us real lessons. And you only hear stuff like you just heard right here on this podcast. Hey, thank you so much for your insight. That's awesome.
Oh, wait, I still have
Go
something
ahead.
to share.
Absolutely.
Can I? I just wanted to say that, one thing that brings joy and peace to me is when I can help someone by sharing my own story. I think that there is power in sharing your flaws, your struggles, and your success, because then people really feel like they can relate and like you're helping them from a place of true compassion and understanding. So when I get to help someone because of something I've been through, I don't know, it kind of make it worth it, you know? And, yeah, I love to share what God did in my life because I know he can do just as much for everybody else. So, yeah, that's one thing. And, one last thing, I really feel like someone needs to hear this, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The very thing you're struggling with right now might be the exact thing God is going to take to strengthen you and eventually help others. I don't know. I really feel like someone needed to hear that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're unbelievable. That's really good. That's really great.
That was God talking through me.
And so tell us, where can we find you?
Okay, well, as I said, there are some projects that I can't talk about yet, but you can find me on Facebook. I'd be more than happy to talk to people, to pray for people. And you can also visit the website of the foundation.
How do we find you on Facebook?
Well, on Facebook, my name is Marie-Eve Higgins, Higgins. I don't think there are many of Marie-Eve Higgins, so I think I'm the first. So yeah.
Okay, so Marie-Eve, for all the English-speaking people out there, it's MARIE-EVE space HIGGINS.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're more than welcome to add me on Facebook. I accept pretty much everybody, and I would like to talk to people and for people. Yeah, the foundation is FOVA, FOVA. How do you say dash? Is that the word? International.org. So that would be the website. And you can follow us on Facebook too. You just have to look for FOVA, OVA.
And what does FOVA do? What is FOVA about?
Well, we're helping children in need in Haiti and in Africa. So, we try to help with educations. Yeah. So we build libraries in school and, we help people, children through education. Awesome. Oh, yeah. One last thing. Of course, I would like to invite you officially to a church if you're in Montreal. So you're more than welcome. My church is La Chapelle.
Absolutely.
Want me to spell it? So BLA space Chapelle. So Chapelle, you can Google it, of course, and you can find it on Facebook. There's a service at 9:45, 11:45, and 6 p.m. So yeah,
I've heard great things about that church.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's I can't say enough about that church.
Awesome. Hey, Marie-Eve, that was
yes.
Superb. I just wanna thank you for your insight, for your wisdom, for your story, and for the fact that you opened your heart. Thank you very much. That is.
You are so welcome.
All right. God bless.
God bless you.
Take care. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found it helpful. If you want to listen to more episodes, you can visit fredericbaye.com/podcast. If you'd like to connect, you can also tweet me at @byfred, or you can find me on Facebook at Frederic Baye Writer. And remember, live with purpose, passion, and love. See you next week.